Welcome to Mary Walter Radio, the podcast. I am Mary Walter. That guy right there is James Rabick, my work husband. Hi, honey.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
It's been 2 weeks
It
because
has.
I was on vacation and we left a day early. So we were supposed to be leaving Friday and we wound up leaving really late Thursday night. And it was just one of those leaving for vacations where you're just like, you want to just call this tomorrow? Should we try? We left the house twice. The first time we left was like 7 o'clock. The second time we left was close to 9:30. So
Oh,
yeah, it wasn't good. I just want to thank everybody for joining us. And James, we have a bunch of new subscribers. So excited. Man,
yay!
Manrico,
Welcome.
Warren, William, Bob, Mike, Teddy, Dan, Rick, Chuck, Debbie, Laura. And we got a note from PJ who said, I just heard about your show when you mentioned it on Brian Kilmeade's Today. You do a great job as a sub-host on Brian's show. Best wishes from Nebraska. So thank you.
Hey, welcome,
Appreciate
kind sir.
that. Yeah, it's great. We're getting up there. We're getting up there. You know, this is a pretty new venture for us, and it's been hard with the summer and everything, with being away and work schedules and things like that. So I'm here for like 3 weeks, and then I go away again. We're going out to Montana and Idaho to go check it out. Then I'm done, and that's when we're
Oh,
going to launch another podcast when I get back from Montana and Idaho. So that's going to be different than this one, though. It's going to be different. So did you do anything exciting while I was gone?
I traveled a bunch while I was gone. That was a good time. I went on a little
Really?
mini tour. Yeah, I went all the way out to Blue Ridge, PA, up in the mountains, which
Oh,
was I played a music festival, sort of like a country-ish folky festival.
mm-hmm.
And as my normal self, we were like the country outlaws. Like I was the second band on the second day.
Mm-hmm.
And I should have had the picture so I could shoot it up. Maybe we'll shoot up on Facebook later. Um, my drum head actually is just like all stickered up. So while every band came like very gracefully with like those little wooden acoustic boxes that you see drummers play, or like
Yeah.
small little drum kits, or even like the old snare drum like they did at the Grand Ole Opry, like just like that kind of thing. We showed up with like a real pedal steel player, electric instruments, my full-on drum kit. Just like and everybody stuff looked pretty, and I had like just goofy stickers on the front of my bass drum head. It just looks like it's insane. It's just
Well, I'm glad you had
absolutely
fun.
bonkers. But we did have a blast. And the sound guy did walk right up to me, look at my kid. He's like, "What the? Really?" I'm like, yeah, I'm that guy.
Well, I'm glad you had a good time.
Yeah. And then I
Um,
did podcasting fish in Baltimore the next weekend. So I was like out on
oh
tour.
wow,
Yeah, I had a
that's
bunch down there,
exciting.
and it never ended. Then they were up here, so it was a lot of music for a bunch of weeks in a row. But that's good. I love music, so
Well, good. Well, I'm going
yeah.
to apologize. You may hear some noise because the air conditioning's off because it's kind of been pleasant in New Jersey,
Oh,
especially along the coast. It's been great the last week.
yeah.
Um, it's been really nice. So we've opened up and haven't had the air conditioning on at least since we've gotten home. So I had to open the door. I'm in the front parlor and I had to open the front door in order to get some air in here because it was a little tight, a little cool. So you may hear some loud New Yorkers on motorcycles or, men with
Just
small
adds to it.
penises, and really loud cars. Whenever one of those really loud cars goes by that has the can on the back of the muffler that you can,
Whoa,
yeah.
whoa, whoa.
So I just look at my husband. I'm like, oh, that's so sad. He has a small penis.
Yeah.
Um, because I think you're just compensating for something.
Clearly, yeah. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, we had fun at the lake. There was lots of paddle boarding because, as you know, my wonderful husband got me paddle boards last month when we went up to the lake. We go up to Lake George, and so there was lots of paddle boarding, which is great. And we had excitement. I'll just tell you
Oh,
quickly then, because we have a lot to talk about. But you know what? A lot of people, when you go on vacation, especially if you go to like a big lake or something, they rent a boat,
right.
and they let you rent a boat with very minimal knowledge. It's really frightening.
Oh, no.
So and storms, it's the summer, so storms especially just pop up, especially around areas of water, like at the shore, James, since we both live at the shore.
Yeah,
That here it's a beautiful day, and all of a sudden you just see things pop up on the radar, and they weren't there half an hour ago, and now they are. So that
yep.
happens up at Lake George a lot because it's a huge lake and you have the mountains, and you have a lot of humidity and stuff, so it happens a lot. So when you're in a boat, even though it's on a lake, Lake George is huge. And you should probably watch the weather.
Yeah,
So we knew a storm
sounds
was
good.
coming in. We were out. We knew a storm was coming in. So we did not go out in the boat, but we were sitting on the lawn with our friends and stuff. And we decided, we saw the clouds and we're like, yep, all right, check the weather. Here it comes. So we packed everything up, covered the boat, secured the wave runner, did everything we had to do. And we got inside and we just sat and we watched the storm. And this storm came across the lake because we're on the east side of the lake. So it comes from west to east. It's coming across the lake. And the wind was whipping. It was just insane. The wind was crazy. And the lake's like, oh, waves in the lake. Waves are starting to come up on the dock. It was crazy. And I see a boat, and a boat comes into our cove. And I said, oh, I don't recognize that boat. And we're sitting there and we're watching. We're just sitting watching the storm. And I said to my husband, I go, so would somebody who's having trouble just like, is it okay? Like, is it lake etiquette to just like tie up onto anybody's dock, kind of like any port in a storm? He goes, well, it's not unusual. It can happen, I guess. And we're watching this boat and we're like, oh God. And this boat's floundering and the rain is coming down in sheets and the wind is whipping. Like I said, the waves are breaking over the dock. And this boat is whipping around, and we knew it was a rental because they had the fenders out on the side. So that's how you can always tell it's a rental because they have no clue what they're doing. So he goes, all right, I'm going to go help him. So he runs down, and there was no one else to help him. Our friends were there, but they're not older. They weren't capable of going down. So I said, all right, fine. I still have my bathing suit on. I run down. By the time I got to the dock, I was drenched. The rain is just pouring off of me. I've never been this wet except swimming, drenched. So there's 4 adults and like 5 kids on this boat. And their eyes are like this. They're like saucers, and they all have life jackets on and everything because it was scary. They did not know what they were doing.
Yeah.
So long story short, I'm holding onto this boat. It's thunder and lightning, and I'm holding onto the metal part, like where the roof is, where the top is the bimini.
Oh no!
And I'm holding onto. I'm like, okay, get out of the boat, go up to the house. And they're like, Mom, I need my cell phone. I'm like, it's lightning. Can you please get out of the boat? I'm holding metal. Can you get out of the boat, please? And one of them wanted her towel. I'm like, honey, it's floating in about 6 inches of water in your boat. Could you just get out and go up to the house? So our friends luckily got all the towels out and got all beach towels out and everything. So I will tell you, my husband and I had the hardest time walking this boat around to the front of the dock and tying it up because the waves were coming in. And
I'm sure
to come up onto the dock. It was crazy. And at one point he's like, just let it go, because if it hits you in your arms, it could break your arm. I mean, it's really dangerous. So,
can you imagine crushing your arm between the boat and the dock?
Oh. So we rescued the Diaz family.
Very nice. Very nice.
So they're in the house, and they look at us and go, I don't understand. When we checked the weather this morning, when we left, it didn't say there were going to be any storms. I'm like, did you check it at all in like the 4.5 hours that you were out on the water? Oh, no.
They're not water people.
No, so you shouldn't have a boat. Don't rent a boat. So that was our big excitement. So
that's nice.
So I want to go on a victory lap. And James, I have a hair that's driving me crazy here. It's like
all right.
On my face. It's driving me nuts.
This feels
I don't know about you, but I feel so vindicated. Did you see the CDC put out, they came back and said, oh, we were wrong.
We kind of messed this up.
Distancing thing, we kind of made it up because we really didn't know. They made up 6 foot. They had no clue how. It wasn't 5.7. It wasn't anything. It was 6 feet. Was all made up. All those little stickers on the floors and everything, all made up by the CDC. Can you believe it?
I like the headline for them was, "We may have made some mistakes."
Yeah. We might have screwed things up. But you know what's really bad about this is that, hello, James Anderson. And let's see, Al is here. Hi, Al. Aw. And Bill says, miss you the last 2 weeks. Miss you too, Bill. And we have Bone Parts who said, I was not the crazy guy yelling while waiting to cross the street. Do you know something about that? I don't know what that means.
Something I said?
I don't know. Okay, I don't know.
But I'm glad you weren't.
Yes. So the CDC basically just flew by the seat of their pants, but because we somehow gave this bureau of unelected this office of unelected bureaucrats the power over our lives. I don't know why that happened. I don't know when that happened, but the sainted Dr. Fauci proclaimed you must stand 6 feet apart, and they put the things on the floor. We all stood 6 feet apart. They also said, well, the masks because it's airborne. So like the mask thing, yeah, doesn't really work. Sorry, the whole masking thing. Sorry. And that vaccine, yeah, it doesn't prevent COVID. You won't get as sick, but it's really not a vaccine and it doesn't prevent COVID. So all these people who lost their jobs because they refused to get the vaccine, where do they go to get their jobs back?
Or do they sue?
These kids that we kept out of school, and we are the only country in the world that forced children to wear masks. That 2-year-olds, we're the only country in the world putting masks on 2-year-olds. All this BS was all a bunch of hooey, and people's lives were destroyed because of it. And they're just like,
what about the military?
So yeah, what about the military? The number of good men and
some
women,
of the
and
best
they're still
pilots,
enforcing it on them.
Some of the best pilots on the planet walked.
Yeah.
Like F-35 pilots, highly trained. I mean, the best of the best. Gone.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Doctors and nurses who left. We were short-staffed in hospitals because they forced that. Now in New Jersey, Governor Murphy still has a state of emergency declared because he's never given up his emergency powers ever. He's never given them up. He's going to have those for the next God knows how many years.
You know how I know that? It still take me 2 months to book a DMV appointment for no good reason. You have to have an appointment. You can't still walk into a Social Security office.
Can't?
You want to get no. You still have to have an appointment to get in the Social Security office. Yeah, we're under a state of emergency. Yeah.
Well, I don't know about what are you doing in the Social Security office?
I had a wallet gone, so I lost a Social Security card that was in my wallet, and I need a Social Security card.
It's a shock to no one that you've lost your wallet.
No, not even close to the first time. No.
Yeah. Wow, but the DMV, really? And what about and in New Jersey, we still have to wear masks in doctors' offices, which I think you're going to have to do from now till the end of time.
Yeah.
But the funny thing about that is that one of the doctors I go to, nobody wears masks. Like nobody's wearing masks in the waiting room. Nobody's wearing masks. But another doctor I go to, the woman behind the counter will be like, "You need to put a mask on." I'm like, "Really? We're still doing this? We're still this little charade? Sorry, state law." I'm like, it's not a law. State rule, executive order from the king and from the emperor. But when I go in the exam room, I take my mask off, and my doctor comes in and he's like, "You mind?" And he just takes his mask off, and we're sitting there. This is the dumbest thing. Yeah. It's so stupid.
We've been going into doctors' offices with people with like bad flus and all kind of nonsense, sitting right next to those hacking little weasels, just blood, and nobody wore a mask. I'm not saying it was the smartest move, but you see my point. Like, for years, we've been going in doctors' offices with incredibly sick, contagious people, and nobody ever said, "Hey, you all need to wear masks and make sure you're protected," and then protecting the staff. I'm not saying there wasn't some prevalent need for COVID that you should have been doing this, but now.
But not only that, they admitted that COVID is airborne, not droplet. It's in the air. So unless you have a tight-fitting N95 mask, it's useless.
Not just that. You're also not protecting your eyes and ears, the other places it can enter. So, we're not walking around with face shields and earmuffs. I mean,
they're also recognizing natural immunity suddenly. Every other country in the world recognized natural immunity except the U.S. Now they're like, an acquired immunity. So if you had COVID, you actually have immunity as opposed to the vaccine. It gives you more of an immunity for a period of time. And then after that, it works like the vaccine in the sense of that you won't get as sick if you get it again, right? So you actually have immunity if you get COVID, which they just recognized now.
Remember when they tried to ruin Joe Rogan for that?
Right.
For just saying that. For just saying like, hey, I've been checking my antibodies and my other, his producer's antibodies, and they're really strong after we both had it. And CNN put out World War III against them for it.
Yep. Of course, because they dared go against the establishment. To James' point here, It was all about subservience to the government. They wanted you to know they rule your life, not yourself. It was government overreach and overstep. And he's 100% right. 100%.
I'd like to add in the greed that I always talk about, which is all the greed that's on our politicians' minds when they probably owe money to pharmaceutical companies who are donating their campaigns.
Well, Anita Dunn is a White House advisor. She was around during the Obama administration. After she left the Obama administration, actually while she was there, she started a Democrat consulting group. And guess who she consulted? Pfizer.
Yeah. Go down. I bet if you just go down Washington's list and find out how many of them have these kind of companies as their people backing them, you'll be like, oh my God, I should burn down the government. But no, I mean, that's what it is. That's follow the money.
Bill says, I'm done with COVID-19. No more vaccines for me. It's just a game. So we do paper ballots in November. They know if the voting is legit, Democrats lose. If we have paper ballots, Democrats win. I'm not necessarily saying that he's not right. Not necessarily saying that.
I'm a big fan of the combination of any form of a way people can get away with what they can get away with, right?
Now, along the line, speaking of midterms, did you see the judge, Bruce Reinhart, this magistrate judge, Bruce Reinhart, the guy who ruled, who signed off on the warrant to raid Mar-a-Lago? That guy?
That guy.
So he also held the hearing today about whether to unseal the affidavit. Now, the government doesn't want the affidavit unsealed. Trump does. And I think that what they did was just so insane and has never been done before. And, Hillary and Obama both took, and everybody's like, Obama didn't take the papers. They worked with Obama to take the records to his to a location in Chicago where he could go through them and they could go through it together. So they allowed that. Trump was working with them and gave them 15 boxes of stuff that they said they wanted. Bill Clinton kept some stuff. He kept some tapes of an interview that he did, and he kept it in his sock drawer in the White House. We know that because the National Archives wanted his copy. They wanted those tapes, and he said no, it's personal. And they said okay. And stuff that Obama took, they said, well, it's presumed to be personal, presidential, and we believe him when he says that it's his and that there's a difference between presidential stuff and what belongs to the country and what belongs to the president. Like they can keep certain mementos, etc. But they took a cocktail napkin, for God's sakes. So to me, they don't want this out because I think this is about. Trump says he's declassified everything. Now, Trump on his last day in office declassified a whole bunch of Russia hoax stuff. And the administration stopped it from being declassified, the Biden administration. They did not fulfill that declassification request of Donald Trump. So I wonder if they're trying to keep stuff from coming out because you know what? If it disappears now, Trump's going to say, they're going to say, prove it. Prove that you had that information, right? I don't have a problem with saying that I think stuff will probably disappear because they took everything. And that's why they don't want this declassified.
Hard to tell, right? I mean, you never know why. There's the logic that you're also handing him your roadmap to how you got to where you are, right? So that's if you're trying to put him away as a criminal, you just handed his defensive team everything. By the way, I'm not saying I completely believe that, but that logic isn't unsound in a world where we don't know what happened. That's also not unsound, right? They use some forms of classified things to get stuff, to whatever. They don't want to reveal the sources of the thing to the world because that's how they fight a case.
But yet Hillary Clinton, her documents were subpoenaed, and she transferred all these classified documents to a server in her bathroom or basement or wherever the hell it was kept. And those records were subpoenaed, and she deleted them, and nothing happened to her.
I'm not saying she shouldn't have burned. I mean, I look. This
but they raid Trump.
Well, so this is right. This is the unprecedented part. So I'm not anti the concept that 30 armed FBI agents and going into the when they knew he wasn't there in that sort of giant show of force isn't seemingly crazy because the Secret Service were there, and I don't think anybody had any implication that he was going to come out armed like January 6th style, quote unquote, and take over the country because they raided his Mar-a-Lago house, right? I mean, were we assuming that he was going to kill them? No, of course not. So that does seem like a lot of drama and overreach and incredibly unprecedented. We want to embarrass Trump. I get it. But in the end result, if they did find classified information, that does go to show to his judgment, right? And by the way, Hillary should have burned. So this isn't. This is what
But
goes
here's the
on
thing: they
in
can take,
circles a lot.
but they can take. There's no law that says they can't take classified information. The president gets to decide what's classified and what isn't. And
But
when
he does have a
Obama,
process. But he does have a process for doing that. You can't just say
no,
like this
no,
is declassified. Like there
no,
is a process. You don't just get to go. It's declassified because I said it.
he
It
can.
has to be declassified.
He can take what he wants because
Sure.
Obama did, and then he could just say, "Oh no, that's all declassified," and they have to just trust his judgment.
Well,
That's the
no,
way
he
it
had to
works.
go through a procedure to declassify. It's not a judgment. There is a
Nope,
procedure.
nope,
There
nope.
isn't
I'm
just.
gonna
It's
find
not
it.
his. Yeah, we can both look it up. We've looked it up here. There is a procedure for
I
declassifying
just
information.
talked to Byron York about this today. Hang on. I gotta find it. I gotta find it. I gotta find it. But they do not have to go through the same procedure everybody else does. All he does is write a letter and say, "I want to declassify this." That's it.
Did he write? Okay, so let's assume that's true. Did he write a letter saying I was
I
declassifying it?
don't. Hold on.
But if he did, and that's it, well then great. But if he didn't, that thing hasn't popped up in the media yet.
Oh,
He
I'm in the
certainly
wrong.
he certainly hasn't had it. And look. You know how we both feel about him. He also hasn't handled himself well as usual with this either. Am I wrong? He went from I don't have anything to I have it.
Oh, well, he
They
just says
planted it.
he's still maintaining that he doesn't have any. He's still maintaining that he doesn't have any classified, like anything that he's not supposed to have. And he talked to them. They wanted some stuff back. He gave them back 15 boxes. He
I
said, "These are
remember in June. I know. Yeah, I
and he
know.
said, "My lord, we've all been in touch discussing this. So why the raid?" But
I,
this is what
I
Byron York wrote a great piece, and of course I can't find it right now. But Byron York put together a great piece for, and where is it? Is this it? And I talked to Byron York today about this, and he said, and his piece is called "Classic Anti-Trump Frenzy." And this is what they do. They come up with something like Russian collusion. He colluded with the Russians. And you don't get anything. There's nothing that's put out other than, "Oh, Trump colluded with the Russians." And that goes out and to all the media, right? Trump colluded. Then the leaks start. What do we get? We
right.
got a leak. He had nuclear secrets. He had like nuclear codes. We're afraid he was going to sell them to the Russians and that went everywhere. And then that died, right? And then Trump said, "They took my passports." And then you get the talking heads, Nora O'Donnell, going out there. They did not take his passports, and everybody parrots it. And it turns out, we did have the passports, and they returned them. This is exactly what they do every single time. They play the
Well,
same thing over and over again. They did the same thing with the Russia hoax. Well, what if Trump was colluding with Putin? And then we have to go through the whole process. It takes years and years and years. And in the meantime, there are leaks and leaks and leaks and leaks to smear Trump. And then in the end, we find out the truth, and it was all BS. And
so,
this is what they do.
but
And that's what they're doing now because they
I,
don't want him to run in 24.
oh, they definitely want to run 2024. No argument here. And that's probably the big show of force is definitely a part of that to get that in people's heads. This is how important it was. I don't disagree with that. But in the end, I would love to see that letter,
Let me see.
assuming that's the process. We did
Well,
have somebody here go.
he did that for the stuff on his last day in office. Hold on, I'm gonna have to just look this up. I'll come back to it.
No, it's fine. We can come back to it. But look, I don't think we're both in necessarily disagreement. I just don't want to vindicate him until I see that he's literally done what he was supposed to do. Because if not, it goes to what I think about him, which is he shows a lot of questionable judgment, but has a lot of great ideas. So,
Well, you know what though?
again,
Obama showed questionable judgment too, because he took a bunch
of
of stuff,
course,
and they just assumed that they believed him what he said. Oh no.
Yeah,
Here it is. Presidents can declassify documents, but there isn't a set protocol they have to follow. Let's see. Okay, can presidents declassify documents? The sources are from the U.S. Department of Navy versus Egan, Executive Order 13526, Executive Director of the National Security Counselors, the history of Temple University, and a case called New York Times versus the CIA. Presidents can declassify documents while in office, but there isn't a set protocol they have to follow. U.S. classification system has 3 levels: top secret, secret, and confidential. That is based on the level of damage that its release would cause to the national security of the United States. When you classify a document, that means that only people with a security clearance equal to the classification or higher can read it. A
Right.
sitting U.S. president has wide-ranging authority to classify and declassify certain documents, but former presidents do not have authority over classification and declassification. Former presidents.
Right.
Current presidents can classify documents as long as they can make a plausible argument that it is related to national security. On the other hand, the president doesn't have to give any reason for declassifying information. He can just say, I decide that this should be declassified, and it's declassified. A 2009 executive order directs the head of a government agency that originally deemed information classified to oversee its declassification and set some rules for the process. But those protocols outlined in the executive order don't apply to the president.
So what is the end result, though, for how it's if he says it's declassified, how would let's say the people in the know it's declassified? There has to be a system there, though, that says, like, the president has made these documents
Right.
declassified so that the rest of the world isn't using top secret stuff that's no longer top secret, right? Because it's declassified.
Okay, so first, the president
somewhere.
Presidents generally follow an informal protocol, when declassifying documents. First, the president will consult all departments and agencies that have an interest in a classified document. Those departments or agencies then provide their assessment as to whether the document should stay classified for national security reasons. If there's a dispute among the agencies, they debate, but the president ultimately makes the decision on declassification.
He did in 2019. I'm sorry, I'm going to cut you off. Go ahead.
When documents are declassified, they are reviewed line by line. In many cases, certain words, sentences, and paragraphs may remain redacted even if the document is declassified. The Supreme Court determined in its 1988 decision on Department of the Navy versus Egan that the president's power over classified information comes from executive authority granted by Article 2, Section 2 of the Constitution, which says in part that the president shall be commander-in-chief of the Army and Navy of the United States. His authority to classify and control access to information bearing on national security and determine whether an individual is sufficiently trustworthy to occupy a position in the executive branch that will give that person access to such information flows primarily from this constitutional investment of power in the president and exists apart from any explicit congressional grant.
I remember them trying to get him for something like this in 2019.
Exactly.
It was something to do with Iranians and a
that
picture
was
he tweeted.
Right.
He tweeted something, but he went through what you're talking about. He talked to all the department heads, and they tried to tell him, you can't declassify this. And he said, really? Yes, I can. He didn't agree with their assessment. He didn't agree with their assessment. And so it's the process you're talking about. And he said, nope, I'm going to do it.
Wait, but there's not a set protocol. It's an informal process. So he doesn't have to follow that process. I
got you. And by the way, I don't know if we know how to answer the end of this question. I'm curious, though, how him going from, because I'm sure this goes to either they had grounds or they don't. Does he, in the end, it's not like a tree falls in the woods and nobody hears it, right? I mean, does he have to tell somebody I've declassified information, or does it just get to be in his brain that he said, well, I've decided it's formal process must be something where it's documented that you declassified stuff.
It says there is no formal process.
Except, then how do you know it's declassified?
Well, I guess he just puts it, like he did with Mueller. Remember with the Russian hoax docs, there was a lot of stuff that he said, I'm declassifying it. I just said it. He just said, I'm declassifying this. And I'm putting it out there. And you heard Adam Schiff, oh no, people are going to die, and all the usual suspects. And you put this out there, national security, oh, Russia. And then when he put it out there, it was none of that stuff. He just did it. He just put it, remember, I think he put it out, put out a statement, and here's the stuff. Here you go.
I think the difference between formal procedure and formal process are two different things. I think there's no formal procedure for what he has to do, but I imagine there's a process in-house that happens. Because that's why they're asking him to show, like, when did you declassify this? If you didn't document you declassified it, it doesn't count, is what they're saying.
Right, but my point is that when Obama took stuff and they said, no, we want that back, he said, oh, I declassified it. And they said, oh, okay. And that was it, because he has the power to just do that. He apparently didn't tell anybody because the National Archives wanted the information. And he's like, yeah, no, I already did that. I already declassified it. It's okay.
Yeah, and again, I don't remember enough about it to know whether he went back and said, yeah, remember this, here's you can find the formal time and date, or.
But they would know. They would know. The National Archives would know that it was declassified.
You would think.
All right, Jane. Here, let's see what this guy James says. POTUS can declare anything they want declassified and take whatever, but there is a process that has to be gone through to certified declassified documents. Well, I can't find that. All I can say is,
there would have to be.
Well, maybe there isn't. Maybe that is his power outlined in the Constitution, and he doesn't have to. He just says, "I decertify this," and it's done.
Yeah, we need it. I would love. I might know. I can't do it now. We might have to put a pin in this because I have a national security expert. I'll have to check with.
Well, because let's see.
I'll see if I can get him to. I'll see if I can get him to comment in next time. I'm sadly using my phone. I can't even text while I'm talking. I already text on that. I'm on my phone.
Yeah, I have it. I'll go back for my papers from yesterday and today because I have it. Where the difference between Obama and Trump and what they came up with, and
I don't think it's a debate. They've let more Democrats slide for stuff, and they've let Republicans slide for stuff. So I don't think that's a hard debate to have. I mean,
Right, but it was why they did it, and it has to go with declassification. That Obama was just basically, oh no, this is my stuff, and don't worry, I declassified it. We're good.
He's right. It's above our pay grade. Exactly. I have to phone an expert too. You're exactly right, buddy. I got to phone an expert on this one. I don't know, man. I'm just waxing philosophic, man. I don't, But that's the stuff we'd all love to see, right? That's what
Here, Trump collects things like newspaper stories, mementos, napkins, and menus. Yeah, they took a menu. They took a napkin, a cocktail napkin. Really? Trump is allowed to have personal presidential stuff. He's allowed to take things like that, but they took everything.
Wait, hold on. Did the napkin have any nuclear secrets on it?
Yeah, I'm sure it did.
Because he's real good. He's real good at that math. He probably had the math for the bomb on the napkin.
All right. Okay. God, we're falling behind. This is different. Nobody's talking about this, so I wanted to talk about it, and we may get in hot water, but hopefully.
I love this. Let's do this.
Okay. So there was a lawsuit in 2020, and it centered around Kesha Williams, who's a biological male but a transgendered woman who suffers from gender dysphoria. Now, Kesha broke the law and wound up at Fairfax County Adult Detention Center in Virginia for 6 months, and was originally assigned to the women's housing, but was later moved to men's housing after prison deputies learned that Williams was transgender. Okay, because Williams still had the jump.
Yeah.
Kind of like that guy in New Jersey in the Edna Mahans Correctional Center for Women who impregnated 2 women. That guy.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah. Okay, so still had all of his junk. So he suffered from gender dysphoria, transgendered for 15 years, had received hormone medical treatment for gender dysphoria. Williams brought this hormone medication to the prison and asked Nurse Wang.
Can't make that up.
For her. Nurse Wang did not return Williams' medication to her, and instead she instructed Williams to fill out a medical release form and indicate that prison healthcare staff would follow up with her soon. Now, Williams explained she had not undergone trans feminine bottom surgery, so he had the boobs and was getting hormone treatment, but still had all the male parts down below. Now, because she retained the genitalia with which she was born, which would be his genitalia, Nurse Wang labeled him as male and changed her prison records, including her housing assignment, to reflect the label of being male, pursuant to the prison's policy. That was the policy. Depends on what you can dress like a woman. We don't care. You do you. But as long as you got all of Klinger's parts, we're classifying you as a man. And
by the way, I happen to know a little about this. Had he gone through the bottom surgery, he would have been in the female section. If you go through the complete thing, 100%, then you classify to go into, you can do that. But for your exact sort of reason, kind of hard to put, a guy with his parts in with a bunch of women. Nor would you let a woman who is transgendering, by the way, what if it was going the other way? Do you
Yeah.
think they'd let a woman who still had her bottom but was doing everything to become a male, like taking all the testosterone, and then throw her in general population of the male side? Yeah,
No.
how would you not just see that as a giant rape fest? I mean, there's no way she would survive.
Yep.
He would
Depu-
survive. I'm
Deputies
sorry.
also required her to give up her women's clothing that she had been previously received and to wear the men's uniform. Now, according so Williams sued, okay, because
Right.
of what happened to her in the prison system, and she wound up with the men, and she couldn't wear women's clothes. They took away her bra and all sort of stuff. Now, according to this ruling, Williams experienced delays in medical treatment for her gender dysphoria, harassment by other inmates, and persistent and intentional misgendering and harassment by prison deputies because they called her a dude
Yeah.
because she's with the men because she's got a penis
Look,
and the other she's got Big Jim and the twins are still there, you know.
let's back this. Look, I feel bad for this poor person. I mean, they didn't murder somebody, obviously. So I
I'm
mean,
with you.
this is a real sticky wicket for a person, right? This is maybe
Right.
why, right? Like, I'm not trying to be the scolding old man, but like, probably one of those times we don't want to commit a lot of crimes because
Thank you.
imagine, and I mean, it's just so there was no win there except other than putting transgender people who haven't completed the process or who are and somebody choose never to do that, and that's fine too. I'm just saying, but if you're in that situation, maybe you need solitary or you need somewhere, because I mean,
Yep. Prison ain't gonna be kind to you. Now,
no.
her driver license says female, which I don't understand why we do that either. But the judge wrote in an opinion that a diagnosis of gender dysphoria, unlike that of gender identity disorder, concerns itself primarily with distress and other disabling symptoms rather than being simply transgender, and that gender dysphoria has a known physical basis. So basically now, transgender people are protected under the Americans with Disabilities Act. So they get far more accommodations than you or I would get. But here's my problem with this. First of all, I think there are some people who truly need special accommodations. I don't think these are the people who need special accommodations. Way too many people are protected under the Americans with Disabilities Act. Are we now saying that transgender people are disabled? Are we now saying that because they have a mental disease? Is that what she's saying? Because
But
she said that
they're protecting
gender identity gender identity disorder concerns itself with distress and other disabling symptoms. So did we just say that transgendered people who have this gender identity disorder, which is why they need to transition, are mentally disabled? Because that's pretty much what this says. Am I wrong? Because don't they fight and say that it has nothing, I don't have a disability, there's nothing wrong with me mentally?
Yeah.
So
this would seem counter to what they want. Now, I don't know if this person, and I don't know if this person is speaking for all transgender people, obviously. So I don't know who the person is, obviously, but that would certainly, I think, damage the concept and really, protective custody's right. But also, what about the sporting issue? Because on the opposite end, you had all the, transgender people who were working for, college sports teams and playing for college sports teams or these other teams. That's a real, some want to be in fighting leagues, right?
Did you ever notice that did you ever notice that you don't see women going to try out for the men's teams?
I think that used to be a thing, not on a big deal, but every once in a while you'd hear about a woman that wanted to, like, I want to be an NFL player. And that was like one out of a gazillion in the 80s. But yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, like it doesn't, you're usually not that.
And the reason for that is because women who become men aren't physically really men. Their bones are different. Their mass, their muscular tissue is different.
Yeah.
Their lung capacity is smaller. So it just goes to show you that biological males who are transgender and are now women and want to play on all these teams and everything have a huge advantage. So because I'm a big fan of you do you, I don't care. Like you and I, neither one of us cares. I don't care. You do you. That's fine. But when you start affecting other people's lives, I have a problem with it, right? Now it's a problem. When you start taking scholarships away from women because you're a dude who can't make it on the men's swim team, so you have to swim in the women's swim team, but now you feel like a woman, so you grow your hair long, but you still have all the parts. He doesn't even have breasts. So he's already got an advantage right there. And that to me is wrong. But this case, like, I think if you're an adult and you want to become transgender, to me, it's not a mental illness to me. I just think that's who you are. You do you, fine. I don't care. It doesn't bother me at all. But this whole, you get extra special, if you're transgender now, you get special rights and you get all these accommodations because you're disabled, because you fall under the Americans with Disabilities Act. Wait a minute. I've been told all along and lectured to all along about we're normal, we're just like you, this isn't a disorder, we don't have a mental disease. But it might work in our favor if we do. So now we have a disability. You can't play both sides.
Yeah. Look, I think the hardened dilemma comes from, I'm sure, from years of just having to be closeted and, massive bigotry. So the opposite reaction is to just be as extreme as you can and, fight for every right you think you're going to get. But in the end, this is going to have to come to some kind of rational talking to. It's no one being any more militant than people are with what am I trying to say? Your pronouns, right? I mean,
right.
You can't scream at people for not understanding. First of all, for not understanding it, right? Because I mean, this is a newer concept in life, right? So I understand people want to feel equal, and I understand people want to feel seen, but if you don't have a rational discussion about how you're going to implement things in the world and get people on board, you're going to get people hardened who were against it at some point, just more hardened and more angry, right? You're not going to get to a place of where you can have a rational sit down.
Right. You're right. You're 100% right. 100% right.
I mean,
look at me agreeing with you. Because both of us say we don't care. I don't care.
Well, no, we don't know. I have friends in this situation. Look, my couple of friends aren't those people that are super militant or hard-edged in that concept. They just want to be themselves, right? So, I mean, there is even within a small community, there is even just a small community of loud voices that are speaking for, I think, a bunch of people that don't want what we're talking about, that don't think, I'm going to go out for the swim team and I'm going to find a way to, like, get the edge I never had before. You know what I mean? They just want to be men or women, right? They just want to do their thing and be able to get a job and marry their partner and live normal lives. And I think that's fine. Getting back to the pronoun thing, right? I don't think the pronoun thing should be any more in the way of being able to say that there's biological men and women and this spectrum in between of people who feel who have a certain, thing, but that doesn't never going to change how the body is created. Like, you still can't change that. What was it? Was it Tampax or somebody that had that ad that men can have periods too?
Yes.
One of those feminine products. And I'm like, but is that really what you're saying? I mean, is that what you're saying?
Well, they want to boost their sales so they can sell them to men. I don't know. All right.
Because, I think we agree here. But you know what I mean. You have to get to a rational place and,
we're not
you can
there.
have more understanding. We are not there.
We are not there at all. All right. Moving along. A psychologist, American psychologist, did a study, and he wrote in Psychology Today, which is a very popular magazine, like a newsletter, whatever that goes out. And he wrote an article about the current state of men, young and middle-aged men in this country. Okay. Apparently, you guys are a disaster. He said their love lives show that they need to address a skills deficit. He said, I hear recurring data themes from women between the ages of 25 and 45, and they prefer men who are emotionally available, good communicators, and share similar values. But he claims that he's found that modern men's biggest problem is communication, which is the lifeblood of healthy long-term love. His data shows that dating apps are overrun with men. Men represent 62% of users on dating apps. He said society fails to teach young boys the importance of communication, which has resulted in growing numbers of unintentionally single men. Over the last 30 years, men have become a larger portion of that growing group of long-term single people. And while you don't actually need to be in a relationship to be happy, men are typically happier and healthier when they have a partner. He also said the overwhelming number of online dating options has led to both men and women becoming increasingly selective and competition is fierce. Single men are statistically less happy, more likely to be unemployed, and financially unstable.
I'm 2 out of 3.
Hey, you had a good. I liked your former wife.
I love my former wife. Hey, to his point, I'll bet we would have done better had I been a better communicator on some level. I'm willing to accept that. I think I lived by the you can be right or you can be happy for years without seeing what was really happening, right? Because I just would not engage. I didn't think there had to be a discussion, right? Because I was just, let her do her thing. And that turns out that's not a way to have a relationship, right? If I had communicated earlier that, I was never going to get a real job, I was always going to stay in radio, we probably wouldn't have gotten divorced. Or maybe would have gotten divorced sooner, or I don't know, but you get my point. Like, communication was a thing. And that goes to, I'm definitely part of the blame.
Yeah. Look at Al keeping track of the time for us. Isn't that nice? Thanks, Al. Here's the thing. I have 3 nieces. The youngest is going into her sophomore year at Virginia Tech, and the oldest graduated from Villanova in 2020. So the middle just graduated this year in 2022. The oldest one never had a boyfriend. She went all through college, not dating anybody. And I always asked her, so, she goes, Aunt Mary, the only thing the boys want is they're only interested in one thing. And that's all they want. And she said, and they're so dumb. They're so stupid. All they do is drink and party, and they just want sex. Like they don't want anything serious. They don't want anything. So she just found them to be dumb. Yeah. And she never dated anybody. She started dating someone a year ago or so, and she just broke up with him because, and he's gonna be really wealthy. And I told her to hang on, so maybe she can get him back. But she said, you know what? All he wants to do is go out and party with his friends on the weekends. I'm like, well, he's in law school. There's that. And he's 23. Right. What do you think 23-year-old boys do? Like they're much less mature. And that was part of the problems. They're not putting up with it. My other niece, the middle one, had a boyfriend. She just broke up with her boyfriend that she was with since she was 15. They made it all through college. She was a year ahead of her. They went to different schools, made it all the way through. But she's settling in Boston. He's settling in New Jersey and for jobs. And so it's not going to work. So she just broke up with him. And she's like, yeah, I'm really not interested in anybody right now. Just taking it easy. I just find that the girls find the boys to be shallow, and I hear that they're lazy. Oh, they're so lazy. They don't want to work. They don't want to, they don't do it. All they want to do is party. And I just hear a lot of that. And I wonder how much of that is true, that we've kind of left our boys behind because we concentrated on the girls so much that we kind of left the boys behind, Well,
how many sitcoms were about the dumb husband and the smart woman and the, that was the pretty classic situation you'd see, right? The guy's the idiot and the wife's the smart one. And even if it's true a lot, it's not true all the time.
Yeah, it's just pretty interesting. Yeah. Okay. Got 2 more stories. We'll have a little laugh. I have a Florida woman story instead of a Florida man story.
Oh.
By the way, I'm going to take a little break here just to ask you to please like the podcast and also please subscribe to the channel. Appreciate you doing that. And the stories that we talk about, I'll put in the bottom of the, in the description at the bottom if you want to be able to
and comment away, even if it's later. Feel free to comment away, get a good discussion going.
We got some of those comments. When you were at it, I was on with Christine Flowers joined me. She jumped in for you.
Oh, sweet.
And yeah, I got a lot of comments. All right, so Florida woman story. Florida woman was arrested for making 12,512 phone calls to 911 this past year.
Wow.
12,512 911 calls.
Wait, hold on. 365 days goes into, I can't do that math in my head, but wow, that's a lot of phone calls.
Carla Jefferson's 51 quote, harasses, belittles, swears at, argues with whoever picks up her incessant calls to the non-emergency lines of the St. Petersburg Police Department and the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office. So not all of them are 911 calls. Some of them are the non-emergency number that you can call for your local police department. Her calls account for 10% of incoming phone traffic to the St. Petersburg department this year. 10%.
I mean,
Last,
oh, God,
wait. It gets better. Last month, she called the precinct 512 times in a 24-hour span.
Yeah.
She should read a book.
I don't even know how you dial the phone that many times in one day.
She would have been great back in the old days trying to get concert tickets when you had to pick up the phone and dial Ticketmaster or Ticketron. Remember?
Hey, Sheriff. Did you get that news? Okay, great. Hey, Sheriff, it's me again.
No, she apparently calls them up and swears at them. In the affidavit, her calls were described as vulgar, threatening, or obscene. Every incoming call made to the police department communication center is answered, and call handlers take emergencies and hundreds requested for help every day. She doesn't call to ask for any police services. She calls to harass, to cuss, and just degrade the call takers. We're kind of at a situation now where her calls are interfering with our ability to respond to regular residents who need police response. So she's out on bond for the same offense she was arrested for 2 months ago. And she previously received a notice informing her that her actions will result in prosecution. Once the affidavit was confirmed received, she called the precinct, insisted that officers come and arrest her because, quote, she loves playing this game, then refused to answer the door when they got there. So they finally had enough of her. So I thought that was hilarious.
Boy, that's fantastic. Boy, she was committed.
She was committed. All right, I've got one more story that you're going to love, and then we're out of here because it's been less than, we may make it in at an hour. This will be great. I will be on Sean Spicer's show on Newsmax TV tomorrow night, and he starts now at 5, so I'll be on from 5:30 to 6 because we're going to do news, and then we're going to do the company quiz, which I always lose in spectacular fashion because I'm really, really bad at the company quiz. But what the heck, if I win, I won once. I do have my tiara if I win.
Hey, look at that tiara.
Yoo-hoo. It's a little crooked on my head. There we go. So I do have a tiara. So that's tomorrow. And then Monday, I'm usually on, and then Friday, that is tomorrow. So tomorrow, I'm filling in for Todd Starnes, and he's syndicated throughout the country, but his home station is KWAM in Tennessee. And so I will be on for him from noon to 3. And then Sean Spicer's show from 5:30 to 6. And then Monday, I should be back on with Chris Salcedo. We're usually at 4:45, but this past Monday, we were at 4:15. But I'll post it on my social media. And if you want to follow me, you can follow me on Twitter at Mary Walter Radio. I'm on Twitter as well. So, all right. Do you have anything you want to plug? Are you appearing anywhere, James?
I got nothing coming up right now. I'm free and clear.
Someone needs a Quaalude and a salsa margarita.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, absolutely.
Carla. Do you want to plug your social media at all?
You can find me at James Richard Switch on or James Switch Richards on Facebook, and you can find me at Richard Switchels on Instagram.
Richard Switchels. Okay.
Yeah.
It would be really good if he knew what his social media handles were.
Isn't that amazing? I had to think about that. I'm like, wait a minute.
Okay. This has James written all over it. And this is just weird to me. So Miller High Life wanted to honor dive bars. Because we all love a good dive bar, right?
Sure.
I love a good dive bar. It is the 100th anniversary of the ice cream bar. So they teamed up with Tipsy Scoop, which I guess creates ice cream that has liquor in it, right? Tipsy Scoop. So Miller High Life partnered with Tipsy Scoop to create the ice cream dive bar. Not Dove Bar, dive bar. Mm-hmm. The ice cream is infused with Miller High Life. That's terrible.
I've done some Guinness ice cream and Yingling ice cream before, and even
I've
Yingling
had
ice cream wasn't Yingling.
I've
It
had
was.
Maker's Mark ice cream, which was really good, but
Oh
it's
yeah.
infused with High Life, but also a peanut swirl to reflect the peanut shells found on the floor of dive bars, except in New Jersey because there used to be a bar here that had them and somebody sued because he fell on them, and so he sued and they can't do that anymore. So you can't do that in New Jersey. I know.
Oh.
I know. I know. Okay, listen to this. So it has a peanut swirl to reflect the peanut shells always found on the floor, a bit of tobacco smoke flavor.
Smoked ice cream. I like smoked beers, but
But
smoked ice cream.
but tobacco smoke flavor.
That's not making it any better. Not at
No,
all.
as
No.
well as a caramel swirl and a sprinkle of carbonated candy and a dark chocolate dip. So carbonated candy is like Pop Rocks, right?
Yeah, I
To
think
give you,
so.
I guess, because of the beer. Um, a six
I almost
pack.
want to try it.
Do you? Well, you can get a 6 pack of ice cream dive bars starting August 15th. So they're available now at tipsyscoop.com. Gold Belly and in person at Tipsy Scoop's 3 New York City barlers. They don't have ice cream parlors, they have barlers
Love
locations.
it.
I'm going to go to this webpage now, tipsyscoops.com. Tipsy
Sounds
Scoops.
like it. Every time I say like these things, I think like that's got to be terrible. That and it's much simpler. But for me, that was like chocolate and caramel covered bacon. Both of those. I spread the word of how terrible they were forever. That I would never eat chocolate covered bacon. And
Oh,
then
it's good.
I know. And then I had a blonde brownie one day that some chef brought in, like for pastries from some restaurant. And I just grabbed the blonde brownie and I'm eating and I'm like, oh, are these salted caramel chips? Like I just couldn't figure out what it goes. Oh no, that's chocolate covered bacon. And I was like, oh,
Oh.
I was so wrong. But like conceptually, before this became popular, like just concept of like chocolate covered bacon sounds like, what are you, an alien? Like what?
Oh, it's very good.
No.
But
Oh, Jimmy.
you have to get
So
the chocolate to bacon ratio right. Too many people
100%.
drench the bacon in chocolate. You can't do that. You got to like drizzle the chocolate on the bacon, and
Yeah.
then you have the right bacon to ice cream ratio. Bourbon ice cream is great. Yes, it is,
Yep.
Al.
It
So I'm
is.
on. It's Tipsy Scoop, not Tipsy Scoops. Tipsy Scoop. Miller High Life dive bar 6 pack is $36.
What?
Yeah, $36 for this.
$6 a bar. Oof, that's more expensive than the beer.
It feels like it's the immediate smell of history when you walk in a dive bar because the bar is undoubtedly old. The peanuts on the bar top that are free to eat, your feet sticking to the floor, the dim and dark lighting, no matter what time of day, it feels like night, an aroma of smoke that doubles as cologne for those in the bar. Gooey. Oh, there's a caramel swirl to incorporate the distinct sticky dive bar floor feeling. That's cute.
They're
That's
really
kind of
layering
cute.
it in there. I don't
Kind of
know. I
cute.
get yeah, I guess if you did it in the right proportions, maybe.
A fun sprinkle of carbonated candy to provide the iconic champagne of beers effervescence in every bite. So that's about. And it's all dipped in dark chocolate to evoke the dark wood and dim lighting ambiance that all good dive bars share. So
I almost want to get one.
$36.
Oh yeah, that's boatloads of money for some ice cream.
All
Ugh.
flavors contain up to 5% alcohol by volume and can only be consumed by those 21 and over. An adult signature is
Oh.
required upon delivery.
Wow.
They cater. They cater
Boy.
office parties. Mm. My dad's but yeah, that used to be a thing for a while. It's squeaky. I remember that. So it's tipsyscoop.com. So all right, that's what I wanted to get out there. And we're doing this. Look, we're gonna get in an hour, James. Look at us. Yes. All right,
Good for us.
so tomorrow noon to 3, I'm in for Todd Starnes. If you go to kwam.com, you can listen. I think it's also like on if you go to like iHeart or TuneIn and look for KWAM. I will be on from noon to 3 for Todd, and then tomorrow evening, 5:30 to 6, I will be on the Sean Spicer Show on Newsmax TV. And Monday, I'm usually, unless there's some breaking news or something happens, I will be on the Chris Salcedo Show on Newsmax TV. around 5:45, unless special circumstances like this past Monday when they moved us to 5:15, but usually 5:45. Follow me on Twitter, Mary Walter Radio. That's my @Mary Walter Radio. Of course, these podcasts will be on YouTube, again, @Mary Walter Radio. You can watch anytime. Like James said, comment. Please leave comments. We'd love to see them. If you guys, sometimes discussions come from these, please feel free to do that. And if you have not already, please subscribe to the channel and like the podcast. And next month, once I come back from vacation, we will be launching another podcast as well. It's going to be about something. It's going to be totally different from this, but it will be another podcast that we're going to be launching and we're very excited about. So that's that. So, all right, we'll see you next Thursday, 7:15 Eastern, 7:50 here on YouTube or here on Getter, the two places where you can watch the podcast. And please comment. We appreciate everything you have to say. Thank you for being with us. Goodbye, work husband.
Bye, work wife.
All right, and I just have to do this. Have a good one.
Bye, everybody.